Okay, we're on YouTube now, and Phyllis is our host once again.
Are you ready to start broadcasting? Or ready to start the meeting, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay, welcome to the Clifton Town Council special meeting, Tuesday, December 15th, 2020. We've called a special meeting with more than 3 days' notice to discuss one particular item, that is Clifton Town Square holiday lighting options. The meeting's being held electronically by Zoom because of the pandemic, in accordance with new rules passed by the Virginia General Assembly and adopted by the town of Clifton. And we have noticed the meeting with an agenda as to what's being discussed. Admittedly, special meetings don't have as much notice as usual because it's not a regularly scheduled meeting, but it was deemed important to have a special meeting, and waiting until January would not be timely for the holiday lighting options to be addressed. So we're holding this meeting tonight. We've made it available to anyone who requested to speak as well. And anyone who wants to watch the meeting can sign up and watch it on Zoom, and it's also being broadcast on YouTube live. So in an effort to be transparent and for the community and others to know what the town council is working on and what we're doing and the proceedings and the basis for the decisions that we make. So with that introduction, the one item on the agenda is Clifton Town Square holiday lighting options. I'll open it up for discussion by the council.
Lively bunch.
Yeah, I'm happy to kick it off. This was brought to us by the chair of the Parks Committee. The sentiment from residents that that the tree in Air Square, that there was surprise that that we were not putting the funds towards lighting the tree like we have in the past. Of course, because of the pandemic, the festivities, the gathering, was not scheduled, but there was some strong sentiment about getting the tree up and lit, and it sounds like there's a lot of history here of different options that could have that have been discussed in the past, and so we're just here to try to figure out what's going on for 2020, and then also future plans for the tree in Air Square and other options that have been presented.
And by way of history, I'll note that up until last year, lighting the tree has always been a volunteer activity. We have paid for the lights, of course, that people had purchased. But last year is the first and only year that we paid to have a company install the lights, and the amount that was requested, I think, came as a surprise to all of us, but it was to some extent thrust upon us at the last minute as something that had to be done, and the council acquiesced to the last minute request to fund the lighting for, I think, $1,500 to put lights on and then take those same lights off and take them away. Was done last year. There had been talk in the past, the tree, this is, as I understand it, the fourth tree in the last 40 years. The tree has gotten very large. And I don't know, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, people could put lights on the tree with ladders. Wasn't that big a deal. And the tree's just gotten very large. making lighting very difficult to do. And when the tree was smaller, it made sense to put lights on that tree as opposed to putting up another tree with lights, a different tree, putting up some sort of lighted display, putting lights on the flagpole or something like that. None of that was ever really thought about because the tree was conducive to doing that. But now the tree is not particularly conducive to easily putting lights on. And in fact, the volunteers putting lighting on the tree was always a nice event unto itself, people preparing for the holiday season doing that. So that's the background. We got to this year. There's typically a committee that works on this, and it sounds like this year, for whatever reason, the pandemic and many other things, the committee did not come together and push that forward. So I think we were expecting the committee to come forward with a proposal. There was no committee, there was no proposal, and that left us where we are. I'll note the other part of it is that many events, the 4th of July parade, Clifton Day, etc., have been canceled, and therefore the typical event we have, which is awesome, which is get everyone together, 300 people in the town square and singing Christmas carols and talking and some fires and stuff like that. Always a wonderful event, was something that we felt was not appropriate this year, and in fact is probably illegal under the governor's latest requirements to even have such a thing this year. So the event was something that didn't make any sense this year, and the committee didn't come together. So that's where we are now. People reasonably said, how come the tree's not lit? Good question. And it raised all the same questions that we have. And regardless of how we got here, here we are. It's the 15th of December, and we have to decide whether to put lights on this tree this year, put up some other sort of lighted display in Air Square for the holiday season. I don't know, reindeers or a tree, small tree, or the flagpole instead of the tree. So the tree, some other lighted display, or nothing for now for the holiday season. And then going forward, we can either decide to address that in the spring. We're not going to plant a tree now. Decide to address that in the spring, or decide tonight what we're going to do, which could involve probably, again, 3 things. One would be cutting the existing tree down and grinding the stump down and planting a new tree, number 1. Or number 2, simply planting a new tree and leaving the existing tree there because some people like trees. Or number 3, doing nothing again. So we've got, I don't know, an option space with 6 different things. And we're here to talk about what we might want to do with that. If we take no action, then there will be no lighting of any sort. And we'll probably discuss it again in the spring, or we can take some action, which would be lighting the tree, or putting up a small tree, or putting something at the flagpole. I'll note that there were people who said they would contribute their own money to this. And I let the community know that people asked me to just approve spending money and putting up the lights on the tree. I said, I can't do that. We have to have a meeting. They said, have an emergency meeting. I said, people have frowned on emergency meetings, and we have to have a special meeting to discuss what to do with it. And if people, wanted to collect the money to do it themselves, then the council wouldn't have to authorize the expenditure of the funds. And I think there's a GoFundMe page that currently has inexplicably $481.87. I don't know who 87 cents, but thanks to them. Almost $500 that's been put into that. And Phyllis and I said that we'd put in $100 to that ourselves as well. So there is that community funding, which would be about a third of what it would cost to hire the company to put the lights on the tree, is available as well. So that's all by way of background. So discussion on options, possibilities, do something, don't do something. If so, what would we do?
Well, I'm not sure how much time other folks have as we, go through the next 9 days. I'm not sure folks have a lot of time. To me, I think the question is, it's two questions. Number one, do we light up the tree that we have or not? And then the second question is, if the first is yes, do we just go ahead and fund it and return the donated money? Or do we cost share this with the folks that have stepped forward to contribute? And then we can kind of deal with the replacement of the tree or future options for next year, throughout the year at our regularly scheduled meetings. That's kind of how I see it. I don't know if others see it differently.
I would agree with your assessment, Reagan.
What about the second question you raised? Is that the easier one, which is address future options at a regularly scheduled meeting? So it's not being done on a, cut down the tree or don't cut down the tree, being decided finally at a special meeting with short notice. Do people think it makes sense to address future options at a regularly scheduled meeting?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I would support that also. I think Reagan is right in terms of how he described this. There are a few other issues that we still have to deal with, and that one of them is what the ownership of Air Square is going to be. Before we start putting more trees in or whatever we're going to do, there are Air Square issues that we have not resolved yet, as far as I know. Which would affect that decision. So I think that Reagan is right that we ought to do this at a regularly scheduled meeting, that part of it, and learn about the other issues that we have to deal with first, and learn about the whole tree, what the real options are. How much is a new tree? I don't know. How big would that tree be? I don't know. I don't think we can decide those things tonight. So I think that, Bill, the issue is whether we're going to fund putting the lights up on the tree or not putting the lights up on the tree. I am opposed to putting the lights up on the tree because of the cost. I think the cost is excessive. I thought the cost was excessive last year. I understand that because the tree has gotten so large, you have to use a bucket truck and all of that stuff. And because it's late, they charge you more. But frankly, number one, our budget is going to be seriously tested because we rely on events, and events have been stopped this year because of COVID. So
Business income.
Yeah, well, we've got a problem, and we can't ignore it. I would have to give credit to Chase as our former member of the council, who kept pounding on us and saying, "Hey, you got to look at the budget." And I think we're going to have problems with the budget. So spending $1,000 or more on putting lights up and then taking lights down, I think is not appropriate at this time. Or frankly, if we were going to spend $1,000 on Christmas this year, on celebrating the holidays this year, I'd take that $1,000 and put it into a food bank before I put lights on a tree. And I'm not making that as a proposal, but what I'm saying is I just don't think this is appropriate this year.
Donna Netchard has her hand raised. Would you like her to speak?
Yes, in the interest of openness and the way we typically run our meetings, always in the past, Zoom being frankly a bit of a stumbling block to how we normally have discourse. head of the Parks Committee with expertise in these areas, it's appropriate to hear from Donna on this.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Donna.
Yeah,
Okay, this is my first time ever like putting my hand up on Zoom. Okay, the price is down to $13.50, FYI, 10% discount for repeat business. He does own the lights, so the price includes the lights. I don't know what, I haven't been involved in the last 5 years. So I was wondering, and I haven't heard back, is if we just had him throw the lights on and leave them up there, that might be cheaper. That was just the thought process. I have nothing invested in this one way or the other. We've had four trees, and in the past, nobody's ever had a meeting about taking it down and putting it up. So I also know that we have to talk to Mrs. Air, who owns Air Square, whenever we do anything, and I have access to her. I've done it in the past. She's probably my mom's age, which is about 90. And she's very invested in it because her dad owned it. She's inherited it. Like you say, we don't own it. But in the past, the Christmas tree has been up and down several times without her even knowledge, which, you know, if we ask, we usually open a can of worms with Mrs. Air. She's very protective of her park, but she would say we'd have to plant the exact same tree that was there when she was a girl, and there wasn't a tree. I don't know who planted the very first tree. So when it was really when we were first here, Rick Digby and Jamie could do it without ladders. It was so short. So, and they're both over 6 feet tall. So, and I don't know whether the tree, people have suggested for $1,000 to $1,500, we could get a nice new tree, and you'd want to buy a tree that has slow growing properties. I have never been involved in purchasing the tree myself. So Jimmy Chesley, even at the last minute, said if we owned the lights, he could probably get Novec to put them on, which they did do for me years ago. But Novec, I don't know. I haven't been the one doing it. And the previous committee, the ad hoc committee, which were all volunteers, and none of them lived in the town of Clifton, so the community last year they just said this is the last year we can do it because of the difficulty. And so they really weren't anything formal. And then we lost Melissa Milne, who was sort of your coordinator. So it's just an issue that it fell through the cracks. And I'm happy that you're addressing it, because we just don't want to go through this every year, and there needs to be some plan of action. Hopefully we will be lighting some tree next year. So that's the history I have on it. I don't see why we couldn't supplant. If we have almost $500 and he would put them on and leave them up there for like whatever, it seems like that would be a good compromise for now. But I'm not a lobbyist. We can go either way and I'd be fine. I'm just a messenger.
I think that Laura would be the one to answer this question, Reagan, but if memory serves me correctly, one of the issues was we had to take the lights down each year because it was destroying the tree.
Well, the arborist said that the lights, in fact, damaged the tree, number one. But my personal belief is, even if the lights made the tree more healthy, leaving lights on a tree all year long is not something we want to do as a town. It's just not,
Okay.
what we want to do.
And
Like
the
leaving
lights
lights on your house all day long or all year long.
and the lights that would be put up this year, if we were to do that, aren't our lights. They're his lights. So
Yeah, and they won't work the next time around. The chances of them working anyway is 50-50 at best. But that's really not the reason that we would do it. It's just not.
No.
The report that Laura forwarded to us that I believe Melissa put together last year, maybe 2 years ago, it says that there are lights that are still sort of dangling from different branches, and it was actually hurting the tree. So I think that, if preserving the tree is something that we want to maintain, leaving anything in them is probably not the right way to go. And maybe even getting up there and cleaning those up is a move we would need to make.
and just those lights were taken off, or at least we paid $900 to have them taken off.
Oh, I saw some up there today.
There's some remnants up there.
They couldn't get all of them. Yeah. I don't know why the guy last year, he had the bucket truck. He was supposed to take them all off and take the lights with him. And again, I wasn't involved, so I don't know.
Yeah, we engaged the independent landscape and lawn care to take those off. It sounds like they didn't get them all, but yes, as part of that was done in October of 2018. The council approved the request from the Committee on the Environment to fund the light removal, but it sounds
Right.
like they didn't get them all.
Is there a significance of having Air Square be the center of the holiday festivities, or Clifton Town Park sounds like a nice solution too for where smaller trees might be found or planted?
I would say that it's the town square and it's something everybody sees as
Right.
they drive through town, and all the people that come into the business district see it. So it's much more visible there, although it is a smaller space. So there probably is a difference. Not for the event, the event could be held in the park, but to see that tree, that's the place where the tree is most visible.
Yeah.
I think to follow up on Lynn's question, are there other locations that are prominent or visible that we could do a lighted display of some kind that doesn't necessarily involve the tree, like the caboose or another location that would still be prominent, people would see it, and it would celebrate the holiday season without putting the tree at further risk and without as great an expense? Just throwing that idea out there.
My take is, I thought about the same thing. My take is not with 9 days and having to figure out where it is and where it goes, but going forward, that very well could be the right answer.
Like the idea of the reindeer, what if there was reindeer on top of the caboose? We could get really creative.
Yes, so we'd need a place to plug it in, and there's probably power.
I think there's power. There's power at the caboose. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's an interesting idea. I don't know that we'd be able to get that done this year.
No.
I would note we have $482, rounding it up, $482 in this community thing that apparently is already there. I like the idea that people have put themselves forward to support that. And as I said, we would certainly put some more money into that. If other people did as well, I think the town's contribution would actually be pretty small. Even with the current amount, the town's contribution would be on the order of $750 to do it. If we did the co-funding, which I actually would support that, because I like the fact that the community has shown that it supports this. I think it's a good thing. So it'd be about $750, and we could leave the tree lit for, through sometime well into January, because if there was ever a year that you'd want to lift holiday spirits longer than normal, this winter would be one of them. So
I'm all for extending the holiday season.
yeah,
I think that's the compromise motion, probably, Bill. We would be glad to throw in some as well. And I know the town had $1,000 budgeted for the event, not necessarily the lights themselves per se. And that budget line is earmarked for the overall event that did not happen this year. But I think if we could come in under with contributions from the community, it would be the compromise that would get us through this year, and then we would look to solve this thing for the long term.
We'd be willing to kick in as well. I don't know where the GoFundMe is, but I'm happy to kick in.
I guess I would ask Donna: are we able to get on the schedule if we choose to do this any time in the reasonable?
Are you talking about still hiring the guy with the bucket truck?
yes.
Yeah. Well, and last year they didn't use a bucket truck; they used poles. But if it's the same people, whatever their method is, I guess.
Right. It's an individual who seems to know what he's doing. So the girl who was communicating with him said that she thought he would be able to figure it out, a way to, even if he had to do it at midnight, because he's very busy this year because everybody's trying to lift spirits, and actually buying the lights was his biggest challenge, is that he was running out of lights because so many people. But if you can give me an amount, then we can go back to him and say, this is what we've got to spend. And Daryl, side note, Erin Tingasdale started the GoFundMe. It's online, and she's the one who took the bull by the horns. I've never done that. So even if you did a matching grant, like a match dollar for what we raise, I would, any way you want to. So if you tell me that you know how much you'll kick in, then we know how much we need to like yell for help from the neighborhood, and see if we can, like, if you put in 500 from the town, and then we'd say, well, we only need to raise another 200, that we can probably get people need like to see what the goal is.
I would say if we're going to do it, what we would do is council members who wish to contribute would send you an email tonight.
Okay.
Say, I'll contribute X.
Right.
Okay? And Donna, so you know the $482 does not include the $100 from Phyllis and I.
I knew that, yes, and I did tell her. It does include the 100 from Lynn. She was kind enough to put 100 in.
Yeah, and
So,
I'd rather just say, here's $100 than to go through the GoFundMe.
exactly, I'm the same. So anybody can send me money if they trust me to give it, because Aaron's otherwise going to refund it. So if we could throw some in the pot at the town and still try to like negotiate, bottom line is money can be given back even through GoFundMe. Aaron told me that. So
Well, and what I want to do is, if the proposal is $1,350, we just do it. Okay, I don't want to go back and say we've got $1,185. How about that? Just,
yeah.
if we're going to do it, we just do it.
Okay.
$1,350, and you take the 482 plus the 100 from Phyllis and I, plus whatever you hear from the council members tonight, either directly through the GoFundMe or just sending you an email and handing you the money. Then who calls the guy?
Her name is Marguerite Telford. She was part of the ad hoc committee who worked with Kevin Hutto and the gang, who have been doing it for the last 4 years. Her point is she actually paid for all the lights and the hot chocolate herself for the last several years. So she just didn't know to send any chits into the treasurer. She just thought she was making. So we haven't actually paid Marguerite for several years of money spent for the event and stuff. So anyway, I'm just the messenger. So if you just tell me what you put in, I'll be glad to collect it, and I will coordinate with Marguerite tonight, and she will call this gentleman tomorrow and get us on the schedule.
Okay, then that's, I don't know, 580, call it 6.
I just got 100 from Reagan on his message, so you're up to 680.
Okay, so I would make a motion that the town would contribute up to $750. The amount being the difference between the community contributions and the $1,350.
Right. We'll still try to beat the bushes and get a little bit more going on, just so people feel they've invested in it. I mean,
I agree that they're part of it, and they look at it and they say that I was part of doing that.
Right.
This crazy COVID year. I think that's kind of cool.
And this will take the tree lights on and off, and including the cost of the lights, so we won't have the debate about the health of the tree and the lights dangling. That'll be gone whenever
Yes, and they'd come off the tree. What would you think, Daryl? When in January?
Mid-month, maybe.
The 15th, not before, maybe.
Right. I think the 15th sounds good.
Yeah, not a hard date. If it ends up dragging a bit, that's okay too. We usually keep our Christmas tree up till March or April.
Yeah, you guys don't want to ask me. I got my lights on the porch year round, so.
Yeah. So.
Okay, Daryl's thrown in another 100. Okay, the net shirts will throw in 100. So where are we now?
We'll have to give money back to the town soon.
Right, so your 100 hasn't been counted. We've got Reagan's, Daryl's, and mine. That's another 4 on top of the 481, 881. You're almost at 9.
This is like one of those
It's a telethon.
whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Auction.
Weta.
I don't know. There might be some people watching on YouTube right now that want to
Exactly.
go to that
Yeah.
GoFundMe campaign.
And we'll send a DVD copy of this meeting to them. Okay, but the bottom line is, the motion is the town will contribute up to $750, with the specific amount being the difference between the $1,350 and what the community
Can
raised.
raise.
Okay? And then we get it done, and you contact Marguerite to get it done as
We'll get it done.
soon as possible.
I got it.
And then the question is, who's paying as a practical matter? Well, there's money in GoFundMe, there's this money. If Marguerite, the guy needs to send a bill to somebody.
Right, and I'll find out about it. Worst case scenario, I'll pay it, then we'll figure out how to get me paid. So
I like that approach myself. which
I've
is
done that before with other projects.
You pay, you deal with Aaron, you get our money, and that way tree person has no doubt about getting paid. He's like,
No.
I'm getting paid.
Right.
Lights are going up, and then
Mhm.
behind the curtain, we figure out how to get all that money to you.
And we'll get an invoice from him. I'm good for that. No problem.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank
Okay.
you. Okay, I made a motion.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion of it? Further discussion? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote. Holloway, aye.
Poe, aye.
Donald, I.
Green eye.
Frost, aye.
Line I.
All right, very good. That takes care of it. And with the second point that's Reagan said, and Steve and others seconded, is we'll address future options at a regularly scheduled meeting. There are a number of intertwined issues. By the way, Donna, so that you know, I am in touch with the owner of Air Square on a regular basis.
Okay, good.
So no need, if you have anything you want to relay to them, let me know. I speak to Linda frequently.
Great. Thank you.
And it goes to part of the streetscape is having an easement on that property that's a little wider than what's currently there. So I've been dealing with Linda on that and other issues, and I'm in regular contact with her, which is good.
Good. Yes.
And she, by the way, Linda is terrific.
And who is Linda?
Linda is Jane's daughter, I believe, and Linda has power of attorney.
Okay.
Jane is in, I think, assisted care down
I thought
in
so.
Richmond.
Yeah.
Linda's down in Richmond, and Linda, she's great.
Okay.
And she's told me that Jane's heart is, in the town, and
Right.
Linda cares about the town and is interested in the future of Air Square as well. So all very positive things. Excellent relationship.
Great. That's great. Now, just FYI, Linda's brother lives on Chestnut Street, and he is bedridden with cancer and is not expected to live much longer. FYI. Yeah.
Very, very unfortunate. I know there was an effort to put together meals and all that, and I know the community is supportive of Ralph as he deals with.
It's bad. It's really bad up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if anything comes up, because you're so close, anything comes up that any of us can help with in the community, please let us know.
Right. I will take to Mrs. Barrett's my go-between up there. Okay, I'm off.
Okay. Very good. As far as citizens' remarks, I will just bring to the council's attention the communications I received, which I forwarded to you from the Civil War Trails representative. And we can talk about that again at a regular meeting. Just want to make sure that everyone's aware of that and can look at it. We would not discuss it on this meeting. It's not on the agenda, but as far as a communication to the council, I wanted to let people know that that had come in. Okay, so we look forward to our lights, and then we'll, at a regular meeting, we'll talk about what to do going forward. Our tree has had the misfortune of growing.
Yeah.
And, you know, we'll figure out how to address that going forward at another regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay.
Make a motion
Alright.
to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? The meeting is adjourned.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
night.
Donna.
Thanks. Yay. Okay, are we off?
Right, Amanda. Have a wonderful Christmas. You're mute.
Are you able to stop the live stream?